There's a kind of warmth that doesn't come from the sun or a fire, it's found in a lingering glance. A silence that feels like music. Or the nearness of someone that speaks volumes without a single word. For a long time, I believed that kind of warmth only existed in storybooks, reserved for fleeting moments in old romance novels. But recently, I've felt it unmistakable and deeply real in the presence of someone I never expected. He doesn't just see me, he notices me. The person beneath the layers I show the world. When he speaks, even the silence between his words wraps around me like a gentle touch. It wasn't supposed to happen, not with him. But it did. And not because it was forbidden, but because it was undeniable. It began subtly, the way rain taps on a window you didn't realize was cracked open. After our wedding, I moved in with my husband into his family's home. His father, a man of few words and quiet grace, carried himself with a kind of calm strength. I respected him, admired him, even, but didn't think much beyond that. At first, then came the little things. A glance over breakfast that lingered a moment too long. A smile that felt like it held a secret only we shared. It all shifted one afternoon in the kitchen when I was struggling with a stuck window. He came to help. His hand brushed over mine, confident, steady. The touch lasted just a second too long. But it didn't feel wrong. It felt remembered. After that, something changed. He became a quiet presence. I couldn't ignore the soft sound of his steps outside my door. The way he'd look at me across a room. How his silence started carrying weight. One stormy night, with the power out and my husband away, we sat together in the flickering candlelight. We spoke more than we ever had about loss, grief, memories. He told me about his late wife and the quiet ways grief creeps into daily life. I listened, really listened, and for the first time, he looked at me not as a daughter-in-law, but as a woman who saw him for who he truly was. That moment stayed with me. I thought about it while folding laundry, watering plants, setting the table. I couldn't shake it. Our conversations became fewer, but more intense. A brush of fingers as we passed dishes became a moment that stopped time. I became more conscious of myself around him, the way I wore my hair, the scent I chose. I noticed changes in him to cologne he hadn't worn in years. The way he left doors open when I was near. One Sunday, in the garden, as we worked, side by side, while my husband was upstairs, I saw the way the light caught his face. The history in his eyes, the gentle strength in his hands. When he looked at me just for a second, I knew. This wasn't in my head. It wasn't imagined. It was something real. Something quietly alive between us. We never crossed any boundaries, not physically, but something in the space between us began to live and breathe on its own. At night, I'd lie awake wondering what would happen if either of us dared to speak the truth out loud. One evening, I passed his study and found him holding a photo of his late wife. He looked up, eyes red not from tears, but from something deeper. I asked if he wanted tea. He shook his head gently and said, "You remind me of her sometimes." That simple sentence hit like a wave, not because of resemblance, but because of something deeper, something he felt. From then on, things changed. Not dramatically. But I noticed him more, and I knew he noticed me. We'd sit on the patio in silence, sipping tea, sharing stories from his past, and in those quiet spaces, I felt more understood than I ever had. One night, as I stood to go inside, I stumbled slightly. He caught me, steady and close. Our eyes met, and in that look, everything unspoken passed between us. Neither of us moved, neither of us spoke. But we knew. Days later, when my husband left for a work trip, the house felt emptier than usual. That night, after dinner and tea, we sat on the couch together. He looked at me and said softly, "You're not like anyone I've ever known." His voice cracked slightly. "I shouldn't say that," he added. But he did, and I heard it. I whispered, "I know. I've felt it too." He reached for my hand. When our fingers touched, something inside me gave way. Not to fear, to truth. We sat there, hand in hand, wrapped in silence that said everything. After that night, we never spoke of it again. But the understanding remained. In glances, in small touches, in the way he remembered how I took my tea. When my husband returned, life on the surface continued as normal. But inside, I had changed. I moved differently. Laughed less, not out of sorrow, but reverence for a connection too fragile to name out loud. What we shared didn't need words. It lived in the spaces between them. In the way he brushed my shoulder as he passed. In the way he left a book for me he thought I'd like. In the way he looked at me when no one else was watching. And I loved him. Quietly, deeply, with a kind of tenderness that asked for nothing but gave everything. Even now, when I stand in the garden, I sometimes remember the way he looked at me. That day, sunlight in his hair, truth in his eyes. We may never have acted on it. Maybe we didn't need to. Because sometimes, the deepest love is the one that never has to be spoken aloud, the kind that lives in silence, in memory, and in the heart's quiet places.